that time again for 5 minutes of free advice, brought to you by 7 Generation Games, games that make you smarter. Since it's Valentine's Day, I thought it only appropriate that today's free advice is about love and marriage. And why should you listen to me? Well, I have been married 3 times, and two of those have managed to go until death do us part. So that puts me ahead of the national average of 50% of marriages ending in divorce. So my second husband and I were together for 11 years until he passed away, and the invisible developer, who no one ever sees, hence the invisible part, have been together for 18 years. So what is the secret to staying together? There are a few, I think. One is that you have to agree on whatever it is that for each of you is a deal breaker. You can't have many of those. For example, I wanted to have children. It was something very important to me. I always wanted to have children. Anybody that I was going to be married to had to agree on that. So that doesn't mean that you have to have children. It just means that if your spouse has dug his or her heels in and says, "This is what I want," there's no ground to give on this, then you have to want children too, or at least be willing to go along with it. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm Catholic. My second husband was not Catholic, even though it just happened to be that at the time he passed away, he was taking classes to join the church. But to me, that wasn't a deal breaker. It would have been nice, but he was Methodist. And what would have been a deal breaker if he'd said, "Now, I'm a born again Christian or very religious Jew or anything, and you have to join my church." Because no, that was not happening. The things that are a deal breaker to you may seem not that important to other people. When the spoiled one, our little Julia, was about to start kindergarten, my husband brought up something about, well, he went to public school, that was fine. I said, "No, you're not going to win this one. I think it's very important for the children to go to private schools. Every one of them went to private schools, and she's going to also." But then there has to be give. For example, I would have liked to move into a house. I bought and sold a couple of houses before we lived here, but my husband really didn't want to. He hates yard work and he likes where we live in Santa Monica. He'd lived here for probably 20 years before I met him. And so we live in a rent controlled townhouse in Santa Monica. It was a big deal to him and it wasn't a big deal to me. So there has to be compromise. And on the things that you are not willing to compromise, one of you has to be willing to give in. So that's the first thing. Also, I think you need to look at what kind of person do you want to spend the rest of your life with? That's going to be different for each person. I don't think it's they have to be athletic or they have to have a graduate degree or whatever, but think about that. And that's one of the reasons I think it's very difficult for people who are married young to stay married because it's difficult to know what kind of person you want to be with if you're not even sure yet what kind of person you are yourself. It's no surprise that many people who get married before they're 21, 22 years old end up in divorce. Not surprising that the person that I was with at 19, I got divorced from. The things that are really important to me, somebody who's intelligent, somebody who is interested in the world, somebody who has an education that I can have a conversation with, somebody who family is important to, that really wants to be a good father, that is responsible. All of those things are important. Now, notice I didn't say somebody that I can go rock climbing with or somebody who's really interested in judo. That surprised a lot of my friends when I married Ron, my second husband. He smoked cigarettes the last time until he went for a run with me one day, mistakenly for 8 miles, that he had gone running was in basic training about 20 years before. And they said, "I thought you would be with somebody who was an international athlete like you are. And this guy's 20 years older than you." I was actually 18, but whatever. And he smokes cigarettes and he drinks, and that wasn't the important stuff. The important stuff wasn't the interest we had in common, but the values we had in common. So that's what it was for me. But I knew that maybe it's different for you, but you need to put some time into thinking, what is it? Because those hot bodies, they will grow old and wrinkled and bald. And what will stay is if he's a nice guy, if he has your back, if he stands up for you, if he stands up to you when you're wrong. So think about whatever it is that's really important to you and marry for that. And that's your free advice from 7 Generation Games, games that make you smarter. Go to www.7generationgames.com and download a game for yourself or donate one to a school or your favorite child.